I've been dreading this, but it's time to get this panel off. And this is going to be a little bit of a different video because I've got to do some mechanical things first. Got to get the radiator off because that has to come off in order for everything else to come off. Then the condenser needs to come off. And then we can take off the mounts. So I'll drain it off camera. The radiator is only held with 4 screws, 4 bolts, 2 on each side, but I've got to drain it first and do all that happy stuff, and I'll come back when I've got the mechanicals pretty much figured out. Let's see if I can get you a shot here. So that's not supposed to spin like that. In fact, I think these ears are broken off here, so we're just going to take the whole valve out and see what comes out. There's fluid when I open the radiator cap, so we should get something out of here. Alright, so now that the radiator's out, and it looks like, it's hard to tell, but maybe the original fins are in pretty good shape. I didn't see any leaks anywhere. I did get a bit of rust out of it, so we'll go through the process of cleaning all of the stuff on the inside. Anyway, so now I think I'm ready to take this whole thing off with the condenser. I'm going to keep the condenser on because I think it'll help keep it together, and it's pretty lightweight. And it's really just 2 of these bolts here. They're 5/8 held on by a 5/8 nut on the bottom here through this hole. So that'll take 2 hands, so 1 on each side, and then we'll see what we end up with. Well, alrighty then. That's the condenser, and we are looking at the front end, so that's the bird's eye view. The back side is where the radiator was, like that. So the condenser is held on by those 2 brackets on each side, tiny little sheet metal screws. And yeah, let's just keep undressing this thing. These guys are 5/16. So that's the condenser and the dryer. Not really sure yet what I'm going to do about the air conditioning. I definitely would like to have it functional. I don't know if it's worth it trying to tackle fixing a 30-plus-year-old system, especially when who knows what else looms in here. We'll tackle that later. Well, I forgot to record this, but I'll show you. These hood pins, at least in my case, I didn't know how to do it, so it was a little bit tricky. On the back side of the hood pin, is this big 13/16 nut. In my case, they were very, very tight. And I didn't see that there's a little lock nut on this side. That's a 3/4. There's no way I could break this off on the other side without damaging something, at least in my case. But luckily I noticed this 13/16. So basically you just raise the spring, that's in position here, raise the spring, put your open end 13/16 on here, twist it open just a tad, and that loosens it up enough that you can finally take it off fully. Make sure you pinch your hand in the spring at least 4 times. This is legitimately the biggest spider I've ever seen. And for reference, that little guy is that big. Crawling through my garage. Look at his freaking fangs. Holy cow. I'm gonna call you Boris. And I'm gonna let you go out of the garage. Guess we'll be ordering new mounts. Yep. Yep. You know, this is the hard part where, like, you either just scuff it and spray it and call it good enough, or you do a full, like, tear down and rebuild fully. 'Cause I don't think there's a halfway point. Almost. So here's what I got. Got your replacement body mount here. I was able to, over here, let's show you what that's going to look like. So, body mount like that. I took the old portion of the sleeve from the top. I had to remount this hole so that it fits the three. This is 3/4, this is just slightly under, so I had to ream it out a little bit. So now we've got a nice connection here. Now my question is going to be, when I put this in here, do I shorten this a little bit, or do I open up the hole in this washer and fill this gap so that it reinforces this just by a bit? I'm kind of leaning that way. Let me see what I can come up with. Alright, tubers, well, after my last attempt at sandblasting with my air compressor on a relatively small part, I realized obviously I don't have enough air or patience. I'm going to try something different today. I'm going to use my power washer, which is a high pressure power washer, with this sand nozzle. See how that works. So I'll show you the setup before I start. So here's my setup. Actually I have 4 bags. This stuff is pretty nice. It's pre-screened, so I'm pretty confident that I don't have any rocks to get clogged. Then the wand gets hooked up to this, and target is there. So I don't know if I have enough sand for everything, so I'm going to hit what I know needs to be done, which is areas around the edges, inside the core support, maybe some surface areas, basically anything that I can't get to very easily with my other tools. So I'm going to set you up on the tripod and see how this goes. Here we go. Well, that didn't work so well. It would not suck as much sand out as I'd hope. It keeps getting jammed, or it keeps getting jammed. Not really jammed, it's that, I don't know. Have to look. I think what's happening is that the sand in the bag is compacted. So I'm gonna try to put it all in the bucket and see if that works any better. Okay, we're gonna try it again. Sifted doesn't always mean sifted. So I'm going to end up sifting all this. But when it does work, it works. All right, let me show you one sifted bag later, this is where we are. It actually works really well. You can see all the areas where I wouldn't normally be able to get to. I'm going to leave some of this stuff if I run out of time or sand. I'll finish this up with a disc. But we're going to get to this side next. I got to go sift more sand. All right, the aftermath. So I used 3 50-pound bags. And here's what we got. You could see this area here, the difference between taking primer off and leaving primer. That's okay. I tried to get in most areas where I knew I was going to have trouble getting a tool in. So now when you sandblast, you have to be aware of flash rust. So as soon as this started to dry, I started to get a layer of very light rust. So I sprayed everything down with WD-40, used a little Scotch-Brite pad and just wiped it down. That's okay. I'm gonna go over it again before epoxy. Now the question is it worth it? Well, jury's still out. I think if you're trying to keep dust down from your shop, and if you can't, do a bunch of sanding and grinding outside, then I think it's okay. On a part like this, where I've got little nooks and crannies and things like that, I think it worked okay. I wish that I had, done things a little bit differently with this. So first, you have to sift the media, no matter what, especially if you're using sand. Second, a 50-pound bag fits into one 5-gallon bucket, and once it starts to pull, you probably get about 2 to 3 minutes of actual working time, maybe 4 minutes of working time. So you have to plan. So I think if I do this again, which I might, not on this part, I might fill up, 5 or 6 bags into a bigger container, like a big trash container. So you have more working time all at once. So that took, the sifting took some time. And this is what came out of the sifter, like probably a full cup worth of gravel. So anyway, that's it. After this, it's a little bit of cleanup on the DA. Clean everything up nicely, and then epoxy. And here you can see I missed this little section. Missed spraying the WD-40, and that's flash rust. It's not a big deal. It comes off very quickly, but just something to be aware of. So in conclusion, it's possible. It works. You just have to prepare for a giant muddy mess if you're doing this in your backyard, and make sure that your significant other has no plants nearby. Lesson learned. Just to close this video off, this is after some further finishing. Sandblasting got most of the areas that I needed to, like down in here, some of the edges, some of the corners that I really couldn't get into with a tool. So I'm pretty satisfied. This is after another couple of hours of small DA and fiber brush and so on. I did spray some of this stuff in here. This is on the passenger side where the battery acid damage was, in there. That'll get neutralized before epoxy. So that's it. That's it for the video. Sandblasting worked once I figured out what I needed to do, namely sift. Sift, sift, sift. So that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. And I don't think I'm going to record spraying this in epoxy. I think that's, you guys have seen that enough. So next step, we'll get to the next video. Talk to you soon.